Try closing your lips completely and saying, Papa. Impossible, right? Our speech depends entirely on our lips and vocal cords. But there's a small gray bird called the African Grey Parrot that has a hard beak instead of lips, and doesn't even have vocal cords in the first place. Yet it can speak more clearly than some people. How? That's what we're finding out today. Let's take a step back. When we humans speak, what exactly happens? Air comes up from our lungs, passes over the vocal cords in our throat, and those cords vibrate to produce a raw sound. Then the tongue, lips, and jaw shape that raw sound into understandable letters and words. Our lips matter a lot. Try saying, Papa with your lips completely shut, and you simply can't. So it seems logical that any animal that wants to talk would need roughly the same setup, right? That's what scientists believed for a long time. But nature usually finds alternative and much smarter solutions than we expect. And the African Grey Parrot in particular doesn't just break the rule. It breaks it in a way so remarkable that even scientists still marvel at it. Birds in general don't have a larynx like humans do. Instead, they have a completely different organ called the syrinx. And its location is strange. It's not at the top of the windpipe like our larynx. It sits at the bottom of the windpipe, exactly at the point where it splits into two branches leading to the lungs. This unusual location gives the bird an incredible advantage. It has two vibrating membranes, one in each branch, and it can control them completely independently of each other. Theoretically, that means the bird can produce two different sounds at the exact same moment, something we humans simply can't do with a single larynx. Now here's the key question. Is this organ equally powerful in every bird? Parrots, and especially the African grey, have far more muscles controlling the syrinx than most other birds, up to 9 pairs of tiny muscles. Each pair controls the tension of the membrane slightly differently. The result? Extremely fine control over pitch, tone, and frequency. Control that rivals, and by some studies even surpasses, the control humans have over their own larynx. All right, we solved the raw sound problem. But the harder question remains. How does the parrot shape that sound into clear letters and words without lips that move like ours? The answer lies in 2 other organs, the beak and the tongue. A parrot's beak isn't the rigid, solid piece we imagine. It actually moves with astonishing flexibility. The upper part can rise and lower by precise degrees, which changes the shape of the mouth cavity the sound passes through, exactly like our lips change the shape of our mouth opening. As for the tongue, it's the real hero of this story. The African grey's tongue is thick, muscular, and unusually flexible compared to most birds. It can move forward and back, rise and lower, and change shape in ways that remarkably resemble how a human tongue moves while speaking. X-ray studies of parrots while talking showed that their tongue movements actually sync with changes in the sound produced, just like our tongues move differently to pronounce different letters. So in practice, the parrot invented its own version of lips and tongue, just with completely different tools than ours. There are more than 350 parrot species worldwide, and nearly all of them share the same basic syrinx beak-tongue setup. But the African grey, sometimes called the jocko, is undisputedly the most skilled vocal mimic in the bird world, and arguably in the entire animal kingdom after humans. The reason isn't purely anatomical. It goes deeper than that. This bird has one of the most complex brains among birds. It has a specialized brain region for vocal learning, the ability to hear a sound, memorize it, and reproduce it accurately. This trait is extremely rare in the animal kingdom, found only in a small group, some songbirds, parrots, hummingbirds, and a few mammals like whales, dolphins, and elephants. And of course, humans. On top of that, the African grey is a highly social animal in its natural habitat in the forests of Central Africa. It lives in groups and uses sounds for complex communication with its flock. So when raised among humans, its brain, already wired to learn the sounds of the flock, starts treating human sounds as the language of its new flock. There was one parrot that changed everything we know about bird intelligence, named Alex. American researcher Irene Pepperberg bought him from an ordinary pet shop at the airport and began an experiment with him that lasted more than 30 years. Alex didn't just repeat words without understanding. He learned to distinguish colors, shapes, numbers up to 7, and could tell the difference between same and different. He even expressed his own wants, asking for specific food or asking to go back to his cage when he got tired. In one famous moment, while being drilled on naming colors and clearly bored of the repetition, he told the researcher plainly, "I'm sorry, go away." A complete sentence, used in the right context, expressing an actual mood. Alex's story didn't just prove that a parrot can talk. It shook an idea that had been firmly held in science for decades, that complex intelligence and language are tied to a certain brain size or neural structure similar to a human's. Alex proved that a small brain, with a completely different structure from a mammal's, can reach a cognitive level comparable to a 4 or 5-year-old human child. The question that comes to mind, does the parrot actually understand what it's saying? Or is it just a voice recorder with feathers? The scientific truth sits somewhere in the middle. Most parrots, most of the time, associate a certain sound with a certain situation without deep understanding of its linguistic meaning. They learn that the word hello gets a positive reaction from their owner, so they use it in similar situations. This is called associative learning, and it's clever, but not necessarily language in the sense we mean. But cases like Alex and other African Grey Parrots studied after him showed a deeper level, the ability to use a word in a new context they weren't specifically trained for, which comes much closer to real understanding than blind mimicry. The important thing is that science is still studying this topic, and every year new research brings us closer to understanding what's actually happening inside this small bird's head while it talks to us. The whole story, in the end, is a beautiful lesson about nature. You don't need the same tools to reach the same result. Humans used vocal cords and lips, and the African Grey Parrot used 2 independent membranes deep in its chest, a flexible beak, and a smart muscular tongue, and reached the exact same goal: complex vocal communication. Next time you hear a parrot say, "Good morning," or mimic a doorbell, remember that what's in front of you isn't just cheap mimicry. It's the product of millions of years of evolution, a small organ called the Syrinx, and an unbelievably complex brain, all coming together to create one of the most astonishing forms of communication in the animal kingdom. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new weird questions like this one. And tell me in the comments, what's the strangest word or phrase you've ever heard a parrot say?